Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Martin Fischer. I'm honored to welcome you today to the sixth part of our series Neighbouring Russia, hosted by the Friedrich-Naumann Foundation for Freedom. This series consists of 12 episodes in which we want to look at how Russia's neighboring countries reacted to the full-scale attack on Ukraine almost exactly 1 year ago. At the beginning of the Russian invasion, President Erdogan was today we will have a look on Turkey. And as I said, at the beginning of the Russian invasion, President Erdogan was able to portray himself as a mediator between Ukraine and Russia. But we will ask today, what are the goals he is trying to achieve? What are specifics, opportunities, and difficulties of Turkey's role in between? And last but not least, what foreign policy priorities is Erdogan setting in the campaign for the Turkish presidency with regard to Russia, to Europe and NATO? These and more questions will be answered by Professor Sinem Akgül Açıkmeşe, who is a professor of international relations at Kadir Has University in Istanbul. She's also senior fellow at the Center in Modern Turkish Studies at Norman Paterson School of International Affairs at Carleton University, Ottawa, Canada. And she is research director at the Center for Economics and Foreign Policy Studies in Istanbul. Dear Ms. Akgül Açıkmeşe, thank you so much for bringing in your expertise today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
The discussion will be moderated by Beate Apelt. She is project director for Turkey at Friedrich-Naumann Foundation for Freedom. Dear Beate, please feel warmly welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Martin, for the invitation. And hello, good afternoon or good evening from Istanbul. I'm very happy that we may contribute to this little series, although Turkey does not have a direct land border with Russia. But it shares the Black Sea with Russia and other countries, and it is in a very specific situation in this newly evolving geopolitical landscape that we have in Europe. And I'm very happy to have Sinem Hoxha here this evening to answer a lot of questions on what kind of phenomenon is this, what role does Turkey play around this war, and also in between. It's always in between Russia and Ukraine, it's in between Russia and NATO. And I'm very happy that we have such a distinguished academic professor here to answer these questions on international relations. Sinem Hoxha, can you please start by explaining us a bit what is the nature of the Turkish-Russian relations? What kind of interdependencies or dependencies are they having? And what are the specifics of this role in between?
Thank you, Beate, for this invitation. Turkey's relations with Russia, it is very interesting and it is very, very unique right now. It is unforeseen and unexpected at times. And between Russia and Ukraine, Turkey is right now playing the balancing position. Turkey's position in that sense between Ukraine and Russia is in the context of a balancing act. In terms of the dependencies, it is very easy to say it is financial, economic, and energy related. I'm not going to talk about the pre-war conditions, but after the war, since the war started, and since Turkey is not implementing the sanctions, the Western sanctions against Russia, the US sanctions against Russia, Turkey's trade relations, Russia and Turkey's trade volume is expanded, it's increased by 50%. So Turkey became a financial hub for Russia. So it is very important in this sense for Russia as well, not only Turkey, not only Turkish dependency at the moment. So it became a financial safe haven. Turkey became a financial safe haven for Russia. In terms of gas and petroleum, Turkey's exports also have expanded, and it's for both sides. It's not only for Russia, it's not only for Turkey. And this is the bulk of the sanctions at the moment, the Western sanctions, the EU sanctions towards Russia. Turkey's petroleum exports expanded, and also with the impact of a pipeline, Türk Akım, Turkey is exporting from Russia. Turkey's gas imports also increased, not only by the impact of the war, but also with this new pipeline. And also, we heard Putin saying that Turkey might become a hub. Turkey might become a transit country for a future gas pipeline. So this explains the story a little bit, the relations and dependencies between Turkey and Russia. For Turkey, especially since the pandemic, Russian tourism, the tourists from Russia is also very, I don't know if it is a proper word to use, but attractive. With the war, a lot of migration flows happened, and a lot of Russian people escaping conscription are arriving Turkey. So the Western connection became Turkey. For Russia, the Western connection is Turkey. There are a lot of repercussions for this. Many Russian people are now living in Istanbul and mostly in Antalya. Rents are up. So education and housing became an issue, but an opportunist issue in Turkey with the Russian migration to Turkey. And tourism, of course, from people coming from Russia, tourists coming from Russia, is very important and significant for Turkey. And these are the cooperation lines between Russia and Turkey at the moment. Maybe in a more general sense, but mostly the trade, economic aspects with the impact of the war in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Turkey also has a very close relation with Ukraine, right? They send drones, which do not alter the path of the war very much, but still it's an important contribution, which has been tolerated by Russia. Mm-hmm. How is the NATO's reaction to Turkey's close relations with Russia? I mean, the economic relations are very close now, and Russian money is flowing into Turkey, and Russia has opportunities in Turkey that it does not have elsewhere in Europe anymore, except of maybe Serbia. Is there any backlash or attempts from the side of NATO states like the USA to influence or pressure on Turkey?
Let me start by how Turkey supports Ukraine, since you started by the mention of drones. Since the beginning of the war, Turkey has been supporting Ukraine, the territorial integrity, sovereignty of Ukraine. So this is in line with the transatlantic alliance. This approach is in line with NATO and Turkey's Western allies. So this is one part. Second part is the drones. Turkey has been selling and donating drones, and as you mentioned, Russia. It's not a very important, significant case for Russia. It's not a red line for Russia. It's not, it's not tanks. It's not very significant lethal weapon. It's not fighter jets. So Russia tolerates this. on the side of Russia. But on the other hand, Turkey is helping Ukraine in terms of military aid is in line with the policies of its transatlantic allies. So two approaches towards Ukraine are in line with Turkey's NATO allies. So Turkey is adhering to the NATO's policies or the transatlantic alliances or EU's policies even. So these are the incidents that Turkey is siding with Ukraine. Turkey is also playing the neutral side. I mean, Turkey is having good relations, relatively good relations with Russia, having support to, providing support to Ukraine. So on both sides of the pendulum, Turkey is not in clash with both countries. But also Turkey plays the neutral side. In the neutral side, this is why I'm naming Turkey's policies as a unique policy. You cannot see any other country implementing or having this policy. Turkey has closed the straits. This was a unique moment. This was the time
the straits, the Bosporus and the Dardanelles.
Yes, both straits. And according to the Montreux Convention, Turkey has the right to close the straits to the warring sides, according to Article 19 of the Convention. So Turkey did that immediately. And this meant also another thing. This meant that Turkey named this military operation that Russia calls a war. So this was also very important. This is war declared by Turkey. And also Turkey convinced the littoral states of other countries, of NATO allies, not to send their warships to the Black Sea. So this was also a rising out of the Montreux Convention, the Convention of the Straits. So this is the neutral part. This Bosphorus is close to the warring sites. But when you think about Turkey not implementing the sanctions, when you think about Turkey's having very close economic relations with Russia, when you think about, not in the context of war, but Turkey's purchase of S-400 missile system from Russia is not in line with NATO's policy. So this is why at the moment, Turkey is not in a very good position with its NATO allies. And there's another issue, which is related to the war in Ukraine, because if there was no war in Ukraine, this would not have happened. And guess what? The Swedish and Finnish membership application to NATO.
Yeah, and here I would really like, I wanted to ask that question, because I mean, Turkey made an official, put its veto against this accession and told as the official reason the support of Sweden and Finland for PKK-related forces in their countries, individuals. Is this all that is behind this veto, or does the Turkish leadership use this occasion to achieve something else?
This is the official justification. This is the official reasoning, and it is a right reasoning. But on the other hand, I am one of the people that thinks this is a power card. This is a card that the government plays in its foreign policy. It's not only related to the terrorist activity, to the support of terrorist activities in both countries, mostly Sweden. It's not basically Finland, it is Sweden. But the tensions got worse because of a person, what happened in Sweden in front of the Turkish consulate. So this triggered the tensions in a more deeper way. This is the seen part. This is the official part. But when it comes to Turkey's relations with the US, this is an important card. And Turkey has not used that card very effectively so far. But it's not only for for Sweden and Finland supporting terrorism. Yes, that is a case. That is a justification. But on the other hand, when it comes to foreign policy decision making, it is an important card to talk with the U.S. officials, U.S. authorities. So in order to, kind of withdraw that card, in order to play with it, maybe allowing Finland in NATO, but not Sweden, separating those countries, these become very important, significant, politics playing, foreign policy playing in the international arena. So I don't believe that this is the only reason in answering your question, I don't believe this is the only reason why Turkey is against the idea of Sweden and Finland joining NATO. But also just we should remember that talks have started. The parties signed a trilateral memorandum in June, but then the talks have stopped, especially after what happened in Sweden. So there will be time that it will be back on schedule, and especially when we think about Finland joining NATO. But right now, it's not only Turkey. Hungary is also not approving the application, and not the applications. The membership applications are approved.
Before I ask the next question, dear audience, you have a button which is called either Q&A or F&A under your screen, or at the bottom of your screen, and there you can put questions, and I will try to pick them up as well. So President Erdogan has played the role of a mediator in the war, and I remember very well that he tried to play this role already before the war started. So when the situation became more tense between, or the rhetoric and the build of military in the close to the Ukrainian border, he tried already to calm the side, especially Russia, down. He invited everyone for talks with not much success back then. And later on, he continued to be in this mediator role. What did he achieve, and where were the limits?
Actually, Turkey's in the first questions you asked about Turkey's position, and I was talking about Turkey's balancing policies, and mediation is Turkey's priority in this war. Mediation has become Turkey's priority in this war. And Erdogan talked to his counterparts on many occasions. He talked to Putin, he talked to Zelensky. And also Turkey, in Antalya last year, around this time in March, the foreign ministers met. And this was the first diplomatic meeting, foreign ministers of Ukraine and Russia. The delegations also met in Turkey. So Turkey became a mediator, played the role of the mediator. I'm not going to say Erdogan, but Turkey in its diplomatic efforts tried to play the role of the mediator. And this was successful, I should say, even though I'm a critic of many foreign policy acts. This is a success. The grain deal has been an initiative brokered by Turkey and the United Nations, signed by Russia and Ukraine. And grain deal meant a lot. It meant a corridor from the Black Sea. It meant that Ukraine could sell its products. Ukraine takes the lead in the grain exports, and mostly sunflower oil. So Ukraine could sell, and this is not only for Ukraine. I mean, for the sake of Ukraine. Many underdeveloped countries are in need of grain, in need of products that are to be exported from Ukraine and Russia, especially the Horn of Africa. And there was a serious concern from the international community that there will be food shortages combined with the drought in the region. So the grain deal meant a lot, and it can be considered relatively as a success story. And on the 18th of March, it's going to be extended for another period, and normally it is extended for 120 days. Russia is right now saying that it's going to extend it for 60 days, but we'll see. But it means a lot. So this is a success. This could be considered as a success story. On the other hand, limitations. Turkey is in no position. Turkey's mediation efforts is in no position to stop the war. I mean, the most important success is that it can take sides to talk. But if there was no Turkey, of course, somebody could be the mediator. So it's important. I don't neglect the importance of bringing sides together. Of course, this is very significant. But on the other hand, I mean, the grain deal, I take grain deal as a success. But other than that, we don't see any significant step as a result of this mediation.
Yeah, for mediation, you need two sides who want the mediation.
And the war, I mean, at some point there should be a ceasefire. There should be, no war at all. The mediation, I mean, it's a process. So, but Turkey right now, with its domestic politics and with what has happened in Turkey in the last month, Turkey is in no position to act effectively in foreign policy for some time, at least until summer.
Yeah. Let's look a bit into domestic field of Turkey. You mentioned already there was a big influx of Russian people coming here who were fleeing conscription. There are also many who just want to have their money in a safe haven. I heard when I was in Antalya that the whole IT sector from Russia was basically transferred to Turkey, is working from here. There is the opportunity for Russian citizens, not just for everybody, actually, to invest in Turkey, $400,000, and then get the citizenship. But there are also Ukrainian refugees. So these changes are visible. And as far as I can see, people are welcome because they bring money. I mean, compared to refugees from the Middle East, who are less welcome. But what other effects do you see in society, especially in the economy? There was a question already on the inflation. I mean, the inflation, Thomas Schneider asked if it has eased since last February, and it used to be 40%. In fact, last year it was 85% officially. In fact, it was probably much higher. How has the time after or the war influenced the economy in Turkey, including the inflation?
Actually, I'm not an expert in economics, so I don't know how inflation is impacted by Russians or Ukrainians bringing money. But I don't think that it is a significant contribution. It would be a minor contribution, and inflation in Turkey is related to many other issues. So it's just a little part of contribution, maybe, but I should resist talking about on a topic that I'm no expert of. But on the other hand, what I know is that a lot of firms are established in Turkey, so it means a lot in terms of trade. Russia using Turkey as an outlet in terms of its trade, and many Russians are bringing money. Yes, it's a major contribution to the construction sector in Antalya, because they're housing sector in Antalya, because they're buying houses, so the rents are up. I mean, education is also, I'm not gonna say complicated, but the schools in Antalya are hiring Russian-speaking, teachers. So the society is changing in Antalya. That's what I heard as observations from my colleagues and from my friends, and what we read and see on the news. So society changing impact, economy changing impact, yes, they are visible. And when it comes to the tourism season, it is also visible, because Turkey needs that money coming from tourism. And there are many issues about Turkey right now, which limits the Westerners coming to Turkey. So in terms of those, when you combine all these factors, yes, the war has kind of impacted Turkey, but I should not say that this is a significant impact. So domestic-wise, in foreign policy, it has a lot of impacts. But in domestic politics, that's not a very big problem, or that's not a very big opportunity.
It's even not very much on the agenda, right? I mean, compared to how high it is on the agenda in Germany, for example.
Yes, exactly. And also the migration, as you said, it's well received when you compare it to the to migration from Syria. It's very different. And this is also the case for the West, for the European countries, well receiving Ukrainians, but not receiving Syrians.
Yeah. We are 8 weeks away from the next elections, 14th of May, both parliamentary and presidential elections. And the good news is we don't know who will win. And this is makes Turkey so much different from a country like Russia. The big topics in the election campaigns will most likely be an economic topic, the huge inflation that we still have. It's now, just to finish answering this question, it's now like 55%, and it's going down, but the prices are still going up, obviously. And the other big topic is, of course, the earthquake relief and the disaster management, and every question or related to that. Do you see any foreign policy topics coming up for the election campaigns? And if yes, which ones?
Actually, my answer would be no, specifically after the earthquake. Right now, the election campaign is mostly based on what is to be done after the earthquake. So it has been a huge one with devastating impacts. Many people died. We don't know the number. 11 cities impacted. People don't have. There are still people who don't have tents to live in. So it is a very devastating topic right now. And the government, the current government, it is seen by many Turkish people, the people who supports the government right now, the governing party, they have seen that their policies failed, especially in the earthquake area. Their construction projects failed, their policies in many ways failed, and they could not provide the sufficient support. Of course, this is a very huge disaster. It is understandable that the resources may not be sufficient, but the policies, it has been more than a month, even 40 days. And it is unbelievable that people even don't have tents. So they don't have access to food, and there are charities, of course, civil society, many parts of the communities that are helping those people. So this election campaign will be mostly about earthquake policies, about how to respond, how to deal with the people's needs. Also, secondly, economy, you mentioned. If there was no earthquake, so let's assume that if there was no earthquake, the campaign would be about economics, yes. But then there would be a foreign policy problem. I'm talking hypothetically, of course, but in my lifetime working foreign policy and seeing elections in Turkey, foreign policy would be a topic. There would be one crisis with Greece. Crisis with Sweden, or I'm talking hypothetically. I need to underline this. But you know, the policies with NATO, relations with NATO on Sweden and Finland would be a big problem right now. You know, there would be some threatening statements. I mean, there would be a lot of talks about migrants in Turkey. So there would be some talks of foreign policy success and foreign policy threatening. But right now they cannot do it.
No. Unfortunately, we have to come to the end. But I'm grateful that you brought this up again. It's very, it's uncomparable, the suffering in Ukraine, the suffering in Turkey. But I talked to a lot of Ukrainians as I lived in Ukraine before I came here, and they understand very well what it means, this kind of disaster. And this is the prevalent topic at the moment here. We are talking about nothing else. We are doing nothing else. So this is maybe important for our audience also to know, again, as it disappeared already from the German and international media. And we will see. I'm very sure that Turkey's position in the international sphere will still play a very important role, and then one day it will be on the agenda again, also in the country, but obviously not in the next elections. Our time is up. It was not enough time to cover all or even mention all topics that are related to this, but it was extremely interesting. Thank you so much, Sinem Hoxha. I learned a lot again. I hope it was interesting for our audience as well. Thank you very much for your interest. And if you are following the whole series, there is the next episode next week, next Thursday, the same time, 5 o'clock Central European time, and it will be on South Caucasus. And I think this is also very, very interesting at the moment with the current events in Georgia. So thank you very much, Martin, for inviting us and having Turkey as an indirect neighbor of Russia in the Syrians. And I wish you all good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Beate. Thank you.
Goodbye.